Whoa, lady. I only speak two languages, English and bad English. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for conversation, but maybe you could just shut up for a moment? Welcome back to Should You Watch This with the Popcorn Priest, a weekly podcast where movie enthusiasts, ex and current movie projectionists, new and old friends take the time to talk about a movie that we just watched and answer that very question, should or shouldn't you watch this? Time is not important, only life is important. Let's jump back into our review of The Fifth Element from 1997. And if you haven't listened to part one, head on over there, get your homework done, and listen, and then come on back and join us for part two of The Fifth Element.
Yes?
I'm looking for a priest.
The wedding's are one floor down, my son. Congratulations.
It's not my bride, she's my fare. She's looking for a priest named Vito Cornelius. The phone book said he lived here.
Yes, that's me, but I don't know who she is.
Nobody knows who she is. No file, no ID, nothing. She's got a tattoo on this arm here.
Tattoo?
Oh, so cool.
Fifth Element.
I really love that scene, man.
There's such good humor in this movie.
I love Bruce Willis. Just in the 80s and 90s, he had this swagger that he wasn't super buff like all the action heroes at the time, but you felt like this guy is very cool.
Man's man.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into trivia.
Let me tell you something, Pandeo.
So I only have 4 trivia points, but I think they're good. And I always try to include stuff that I didn't know about it. So you talked about this last week, that the divine language that was spoken by Lilu was over, 400 different words. And I briefly mentioned it, but it was invented by Luc Besson, like you said, and further refined by Mila Jovovich. So she had some input with that language. And she had little trouble learning and developing it, as she was already fluent in 4 different languages. The languages had 400 words, like you said, and he and Jovovich held conversations and even wrote letters to each other in the language as practice. And by the end of the filming, they were able to have full conversations in the language.
I think it was a little bit more than just for practice, you know what I mean?
I mean, he had a girlfriend. Did you know his girlfriend was the diva? That was his.
I did see that.
That was his girlfriend. So yeah, maybe Besson was enjoying more than just the divine language.
I think I read that they married.
He and Jovovich got married?
Yeah,
oh
for
my
2
gosh.
years.
I've got to look this up right now.
That it was a little bit of a scandal.
Oh dang, dude. He was married to her from.
Did you find it?
From 1997 when this came out to 1999.
Yeah. Scandalous.
Jeez.
Scandal.
This guy, Luc Besson, shame on you, dude. Wow. Well, speaking of his other girlfriend at the time was the diva. When composer Eric Serra showed soprano Inva Mula, who dubs the voice of the diva, the sheet music for the diva dance, she reportedly smiled and relayed to him that some of the notes written were not humanly possible to achieve, because the human voice cannot change notes that fast. Hence, she performed the notes in isolation, one by one, as opposed to consecutively singing them all together, and they digitized the notes to fit the music. There are a few moments when you can hear the differences in the vocal tones of the diva's voice. And you know what's funny is I looked this up, and there's a bunch of people who try to sing this on YouTube. And I listened to a bunch of them because I got way too deep in the weeds with The Fifth Element. And I listened to one. There's one in there that she only sings.
Is it the Asian?
No. No, I saw that one. And that one's pretty good. But there's another one with this girl, and it looks like she's like in her, bedroom or something. and it's not a great quality of the video, but the audio, she's got a really good mic set up, and she sings it, and it's amazing. There was only one that I found that I was like, wow, this almost matches it. And she's singing. There's like no editing. I'll send you the link because it gave me the chills because I was like, oh my gosh, this lady, it sounds exactly like the fake. You know, they were recording all these separately and compositing them together. So I'll send that to you. It's pretty dope, and I'll put it in the notes for this episode because I thought it was very impressive. When filming began, the production decided to dye Milla Jovovich's hair from its natural brown color to her character's signature orange color. However, due to the fact that her hair had to be re-dyed regularly to maintain the bright color, Milla's hair quickly became too damaged and broken to withstand the dye. Eventually, a wig was created to match the color and style of Lilu's hair and was used for the remainder of the production. I don't think we understand most times what I feel like we all think that, actors are just these, hoity-toity, like, oh, I'm so cool. Spoiled and like super. I mean, yeah, they're rich, but not all of them are, and they do a lot for their craft.
Hard.
Yeah.
A lot of them work super hard. And look, all you need to do is point to Heath Ledger, right? Like that's the perfect example of somebody that just entrenched themselves in a character to give the best performance, and it's one of the greatest performances I've ever personally seen. So I agree with you 100%. Man.
Well, and I even think of, people that probably don't, and I don't even care about actors' like personal beliefs or political beliefs. I don't really care. I go to the movies because I like them.
No,
like their acting, their performance is Tom Cruise. Right. Like this guy he tries to do all the stunts, and it's just awe-inspiring to see him do what he does, and he's crazy. But
truthfully, he's an absolute national treasure, if you ask me.
Yeah,
greatest of all time.
I should have combined this with the language trivia point that I had earlier, but when Korben first meets Lilu, she starts talking to him in the divine language that Luc Besson invented, but Luc Besson didn't tell Bruce Willis what she was going to say to him, so Bruce's reactions are real in that scene. And that's why I put that quote at the first of this episode, because he's like, whoa, lady, I only speak two languages, English and bad English. Like, what are you saying? Slow down. Like, shut up for a second. I just think that's really cool.
Well, you brought up the Plava Laguna scene, and his reactions to that were because he had never seen what she looked like before. And so his reaction was completely real. Yeah,
I mean, you see his face and the shot of him looking up, it's like him just in awe of the performance and also the audio, because they matched it together. She had to lip sync it, and it's real. And they brought them to a real opera house, and there's all these people there, and Luc Besson was like, hey, we're going to actually have a performance. And then this happened, and everyone was like legit cheering and clapping for this thing that they did. It was amazing. I only have one more trivia, so if you have any, let me know. But I have two people that were considered for different roles in the film. We already talked about last week, Julia Roberts and what's her name from Showgirls?
Elizabeth Berkley.
Yeah, Elizabeth Berkley were considered for the role of Lilu. Mel Gibson was considered for the role of Korben Dallas, and Jamie Foxx was considered for the part of Ruby Rod.
I've got another one that was considered.
Oh, did I miss one?
For that one.
Oh, let's hear it.
For Ruby Rod, Prince.
Oh. I read that he had a lot of inspiration from Michael Jackson and Prince, but I didn't read that he was actually considered for the role.
The designer actually, the costume designer actually met with Prince and showed him all of the slides or drawings. And he's got some funny quote about meeting with Prince about it, and how maybe Prince thought he was saying F you because
his English was horrible.
Or his English was so bad. Yeah.
I don't know. That seems like Prince would have been not as flamboyant. I mean, he's flamboyant, but
agreed.
Chris Tucker takes it to a level. Yeah, like his personality isn't like. Yeah, I don't think that would have been great.
No, and I don't think anybody else would have been as good as Chris Tucker.
I love Chris Tucker, man. I love his any movie he's in. I love when he's just double talking really fast. I think he's really underrated, man.
Completely agree. So I'll add one more. Are you done with your trivia?
Yeah. I'm ready to get into beefs, but you go ahead.
Let me throw this one at you. And this is one that I think needs to be verified. But there's an uncredited voiceover. I don't know what you would call that.
Did you find this out?
Do you know this one?
Are you talking about Korben's mom?
No.
Oh,
is there something about Korben's mom?
Oh no, I just, that voice, his mom's voice, it's uncredited, and I wanted to know. Her voice seems really familiar to me, and I never found out who it was. But something else.
So this is a different one.
Okay.
So the taxi dispatcher.
Okay.
Named Finger. You know, when he's talking to him, says you got to come in for a
overhaul. Yeah.
Vin Diesel.
No.
That I didn't have time to go back and verify. So everybody listening needs to verify, trust and then verify.
Dude, but you know who I thought it could have been?
I'm looking at an article that says it.
Do you know who I thought it could have been? Who? Fudging Tone Loc, bro. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I thought it was Tone Loc, man. But Vin Diesel, that's a crazy take. We'll have to see if anyone knows. Tweet us if you know the answer to that question, because if it's Vin Diesel, that'd be crazy.
Now I do want to know who the voiceover was on for the mother. Oh, one other just quick little note, and I don't know if this is going to get into, I guess you're kind of done with Easter eggs, but Hassan's father worked a part-time job to pay his art and school, which was, I guess, not necessarily art school, but art and film school. And that job was as a taxi driver. So in all of Hassan's movies, you will see a character centered around being a taxi driver.
Dude, that's interesting, because you think about him writing the movie The Transporter. You think about, him writing Taken. You think about all the movies that he's done. There's always somewhere in there a taxi driver or something prominent about driving people around.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I always like that stuff, man.
When people pay the homage. Yeah, I love it when they pay homage.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to pay homage to your dad. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hate to bring us down, but we got to get into...
Where's the beef? Hey, where's the beef?
Popcorn beefs. I only have 2 beefs because I really like this movie. It's no surprise. I've been gushing about it for 2 episodes now, but I have two beefs. And despite the movie's success and positive reviews from critics, Besson decided not to make a sequel or otherwise expand the Fifth Element universe and pursue other interests. And we talked about this last week, about how he had written 3 scripts and they combined it into one. I'm sticking with my guns. Like, I want a little more of this universe. I wanted more Fifth Element.
Yeah, and I was the opposite. I liked where it lays. But I could see that as a beef.
Well, and I don't necessarily want a Fifth Element sequel in 2010 or 2022. I would have wanted one in like 1999 or even 2000, right. Like really close, so that they're still having to do a lot of what they did, what made it special, right? I think if they do it now, it's going to look like Valerian, that crazy movie that, there's some really amazing visuals, but it just feels empty to me.
I agree. Forced. Yep. Like we said last week, forced.
And this is my second beef. I was watching an interview, speaking of Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. He was promoting that movie when he was interviewed, and again, it was a disappointing film for me. He mentions that he had a nightmare shooting The Fifth Element and that he doesn't like practical effects over CGI effects. I'm not a purist that always, rants about everything should be practical. But in this case, it's better because of all the sets that were built.
It was so much better.
All the photography, everything, the cinematography.
The models, the cinematography is incredible in this movie.
And it looks great now. It looks great in 2022, which not a lot of movies can say that.
I really, really agree with you there.
Well, and you think about like movies like Jurassic Park, which still hold up, where they built, there were CG dinosaurs, but there were also like full-size T-Rex, So there's a blending of that, and that's why I think it still holds up so well now.
It's funny you say that, because as I'm watching it, I'm thinking there's not much difference 25 years later from the visually the visual effect part of this movie. There's not a significant difference, and I think a large that is due to the practical pieces of the effects.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we even talked about Dune. Movies like Dune have really amazing CGI effects, but they don't detract from the storytelling, which I think Valerian suffers from. It's more a spectacle versus the actors that played, the two main characters, the man and the woman. You contrast those to the ones in The Fifth Element, where you've got this really charismatic Bruce Willis, whereas the guy in Valerian is like a shell of a guy. He's not that charismatic to me. And then there's no chemistry between the two. And in this one, you've got this really great chemistry between them, and you feel like they're really, forming this bond.
No, I completely agree. And it doesn't feel genuine when you use, 90% CGI. It just doesn't feel genuine. Obviously Avatar and like that type of movie is on a different level, because it's not necessarily humans in CGI or CGI layered to actual scenery, right? Like 90% of the movie's all CGI characters included, so it sounds like a cartoon. So I just think it doesn't feel as genuine when you use that much CGI, and that's what I loved about this movie. Like, I just loved it. The what is it? What were the beasts called in this movie? The
Mangalore?
Langles? Mangalores.
Mangalores, yeah.
I think you're right. The Mangalores were not CGI.
And it's okay that they were like not that perfect. They didn't move super great. I don't care. It's just awesome.
I don't care.
Yeah.
It added to it for me. So,
yeah.
I agree. I have one beef.
Ooh, I like it.
And this goes to something that we talked about last week. And then also Gary Oldman and Bruce Willis did not share the screen together.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, bro. And like we talked how Gary Oldman is so great. And this was when Bruce Willis was at the height, bro. At the height. I would have loved to have seen them, a little bit of back and forth would have been awesome. So that's, I guess it's significant beef, but minor beef.
Interesting.
But crazy when you think, like, you've got a hero and you've got the antagonist, right?
Yeah.
Not a single shared screen through the whole movie.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It reminds me of like movies like Heat, where Pacino and De Niro, Pacino and De Niro only share like these two separate scenes in this entire, movie about these thieves, and it makes it so much more cool. But I didn't even think about that they didn't share the screen. That's interesting. That is a good.
I would have
beef.
liked to see how it played out.
Yeah, I like that. Well, this brings us to our popcorn puzzles.
A sphincter says what?
What?
A sphincter says what?
What?
Exactly.
I love that clip. And most shots of Gary Oldman, and this is what I read. I didn't pick up on this. Maybe you did, but they said that there's a circle around his head. In fact, a circle in the middle of the frame is nearly a constant motif in the movie. And Bruce Willis's character, on the other hand, is more often framed by a rectangle or like doorway behind him. I mean, number one, I didn't pick up on that. And then number two is why? Like what's with the circle and the rectangle? Is it the just
significance? Yeah,
what does it mean?
I question that.
Yeah, this is a puzzle for me. I don't know if there's an answer, but I couldn't figure it out, and I didn't pick up on it.
Maybe like somebody was super high and a circle behind Oldman twice and a square behind Will. Like, of course, there's going to be shapes behind these people, but I didn't catch it either.
Yeah. Anyway, puzzle for me. And then this next one, I'm not sure if this is a beef or a puzzle, but Gary Oldman is a really good friend of Luc Besson, and that took the part without reading the script, doing this movie to repay Besson for partly financing Oldman's movie Nil by Mouth from 1997. He's asked in a 2014 interview if he liked the movie. Oldman stated, "Oh no, I can't bear it." He had explained in 2001, "It was me singing for my supper because Luke had come in and partly financed my film." My puzzle is like, really, dude? Why can't, what? It seemed like all the backstage. He was great. And all the backstage footage of him seemed like they were having a blast. They're laughing all the time because they're friends. I don't know. I just feel like that's a puzzle. I don't understand, Oldman. Why don't you like this movie? You need to get on board, man.
You need to get on board because it's an amazing movie.
Yeah. So I have two more puzzles. The windows of the buildings were cited by the visual effects teams as one of the most time-consuming tasks, along with details behind the windows, such as furniture, blinds, light boxes, and tiny pieces of flat artwork were placed in all the windows. The level of detail and like time and care people in these jobs it's just mind-boggling. And a lot of the times you don't, unless you're pausing this, I watched it on my big screen at home, and if you pause it, you can like pick out some amazing stuff. But back then, you're there watching it on, it's not high def. It's just in a theater. You're not going to pick up on a lot of those details. It's just amazing that they went to that level of detail to make sure it looked convincing that these windows had stuff in it.
It really is. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't see that.
And speaking of the models, amongst the scale models used for filming are the buildings seen in New York City, dozens of apartment blocks, and 25 skyscrapers, some 20 feet, 6.1 meters high, were constructed in 1/24th scale. The buildings in the New York City miniature were up to 20 feet tall. The street was 8 feet long, and it took 9 months to build. I was going to put this in popcorn by the numbers, but I just was like, man, that's so crazy.
That's intense.
It's in puzzles because it was blown away that they spent that much time and effort on those scenes, and it really pays off.
It does, dude. Like, again, it just kind of verifies and goes to what I've been saying, which is it can't all be CGI. Even today, it shouldn't be, but it is. Like, you don't see a movie anymore with this kind of stuff.
Well, there's a really good, I don't know, I guess you would call it a featurette. It's like a mini documentary about the making of Dune and the CGI that is in Dune and why it looks so unique. And is that CGI? Is it not CGI? What parts is? And seek it out. And I'll put the link in this as well, because I really think that there's ways to do it. But they've also gone to like the desert and they put devices under the sand to make it move, and they photographed it so that they could see how it would really move, and then they would use that as reference. So I feel like there's ways where you can draw on real stuff so that it feels like it's real, but it might not be because it's based on real stuff. And a lot of times people just make it fake, and they don't really take the time to...
Agreed. That's what I'm saying. Agreed.
I don't have any more puzzles. Anything that you were like, I didn't understand that, or I didn't pick up on that?
Yes. If you are going to have somebody protecting something that will save the world, why would you put it in the hands of the least agile creatures ever created?
Those guys are like freaking weeble wobbles, dude. There's a burp.
Yeah, that was puzzling to me.
And I felt like their ship got blown up so easy. Like it took, we'll come back in 300 years, yet as soon as they get here to help everyone, they're immediately destroyed.
Yeah. The other thing that I was kind of like, what? Was the Mickey D's thing.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that maybe I should go back to Popcorn on that.
Like what puzzles you about the Mickey D's thing? Just that it was in the movie?
It just feels commercialized. Yeah, it just feels commercialized.
I can't speak for the French because I don't know. I don't live there, or I visited France a couple times, but I've never lived there. I'm not French, but it seems like from a French guy's perspective, he's trying to depict America and New York City. It's like his version of what America is McDonald's, and it's like stood the test of time, and that's what they think of America as McDonald's, and that's probably why it's in there.
Yeah, could be. I mean, but there's clearly some shekels being shekelled for McDonald's to put on.
I mean, with
it was just too
$80 million worth of special effects. I mean, maybe they needed some McDonald's to
a little extra
help them out.
Yeah.
Ronald McDonald needs to step in and open his wallet up. Any other puzzles?
No, that's it.
All right, this brings us to Popcorn Redemption. And Popcorn Redemption is, I brought it out because a lot of times in some of the movies that I review or I have guests on, it's easy to talk crap on stuff. I always like to go on a good note, regardless if we like the movie or we don't like the movie. In this case, it's safe to say that we really like this one, but this is a time where we can just talk about the stuff that we really liked and just kind of draw attention to stuff that really stood up on the level of what's cool about this movie. So that's Popcorn Redemption.
I have exorcised the demons.
All right, so this is where we get to talk about the stuff that we really liked about The Fifth Element. And I only have a couple of things specific. It's more general for me, but this is a movie that I can watch over and over. I never get bored with it. And
Never.
I've talked about this before, and you share the same sentiments, but it helps that Bruce Willis is in it. For some reason,
100%.
If he's not in this, it doesn't feel as like accessible to me for some reason.
Yeah, agreed.
And his newer stuff isn't as good as his stuff from the late 80s and 90s. And this is crazy. I looked this up. I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he has 13 projects in various stages of production. Like, does he have some back taxes or alimony that he needs to pay off? Like, is he the new Nicolas Cage? Like, what?
He's virtually Nicolas Cage, yep.
Like, you should see, like, literally, there's three of those 13 movies are a 1, 2, and a 3, like sequels of like trashy, horrible, straight to video movies. What?
Yeah, I don't know what
is going on.
It's a sad day because there are movies like, you know, the greatest Christmas movie ever made, Die Hard. I mean, these are some movies that I will watch anytime, anywhere I'm in. So
yeah,
I don't know what's happened to the man. Sad. So sad.
But combined with him and everything, the silliness, the humor, the action, the visuals, the fact that I even love that the script was essentially written by a 16-year-old Luc Besson, and how he's just made this simple story of like this, you know, weapon. It turns out to be a hot lady that, you know, falls in love with the protagonist. Like, it's awesome. It's just simple and fun. And
I completely agree. And I'll even, you know, to that visual effects, it's like the soundtrack is so good, and it just adds to the visuals. The soundtrack, the music to this is, and it's not just the Plava Laguna concert. Like, it's not just that. Like, there are so many amazing music ads that just truly do bring the scenery to life in an extraordinarily colorful, you know, landscape and cinematography and all of that. So I love the music.
And it sounded otherworldly. It sounded new, something that you hadn't heard before. And you come into this movie and it's like, man, combined with everything that there is, it's so cool on one hand, but sad that this guy hasn't been able to capture that again, even though he tried with Valerian.
Yeah. You know what I noticed this time around that was really endearing from the movie perspective? There are so many parts where you can tell that they maybe should have reshot it because their reaction was laughing at or like one of my favorite parts of this whole movie is when the guy tries to rob him at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "It's okay, I don't need it." Like, that guy's so awesome.
Give me the cash. Give me the cash.
But if you look at Bruce Willis's reaction, like, you can see that he thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
So I feel like they were very loose, which kind of helped me connect even a little bit more to these characters. That's another reason why I just love this movie.
Well, and I agree, and I listened to some interviews, and Besson, not very many directors do this apparently, but he was in front of the camera all the time. And so Bruce was mentioning that he's in a scene, and usually that you'd say cut, you'd get out of the taxi cab or whatever environment you're in. There'd be a time where you stop. You got to go talk to the director, and you say, "Hey, was that what you wanted? Oh, let's do this. Okay, go back, set everything up." Besson is like behind the camera. He's like right up with the actors, and he's just like, "Okay, do it again. Do it like this. How about we try this? Boom, let's start. Let's go." And so there's a lot of fluidity to the performances that I think you get when you have those interactions with the director and they're so intimate with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with
and when you're loose.
Yeah, exactly. When you're loose. I feel like that's the same way with Adam McKay, who does movies like Step Brothers and, where they just let him do 20 takes, and how much funnier can we make it? Well, let's see if we can make each other laugh. And there's just like this loose nature, and it makes for just an amazing, you just pick from 10 clips that are they're the funniest thing ever.
Agree. Yeah. Totally agree.
Well, is there any parting thoughts for The Fifth Element?
No, I think we pretty well covered it all. Like it's a movie that's got everything that you want. It's a movie that, your wife, your girlfriend will watch it. So, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a golden bucket for me. And I'm a little on the side. I err on the side of, I probably give more golden buckets than I should, but it deserves it. This one's great.
Yeah, that I've been a little more stingy with my golden bucket, but this one gets it, brother.
Yeah.
It gets the golden bucket. Yeah.
There you go. Well, with that, hit me up on the Twitters or the Instas if you want to interact with the great Popcorn Priest at Popcorn Priest. Drop me a line and say hi. If you've enjoyed this or any of our previous episodes, please subscribe so you can get notifications on our newest episodes. I love movies and would love it if you'd share the love. Share this with the movie lover in your life. Another way to support the show is by throwing a few shekels at the priest. Visit patreon.com/Popcorn Priest and see what extra perks you can enjoy. As always, thanks for listening, and thanks to my guest, Dan Sekulich. Appreciate you joining me. I know we're like four hours apart where I'm at and where you are in Brazil, but I appreciate the time you come to be on the show.
No, always love being on the pod. Always love supporting what you do. And one other quick little note to all the listeners, I wasn't getting updates. Like, it wasn't telling me iTunes.
You were subscribed, but it wasn't giving you notifications?
It was not giving me notifications until I did the latest update. So that's something else that you might want to let your listeners know.
Yeah, subscribe. Make sure to subscribe so you get notifications, man.
Not getting those. So if you're not getting them and you're subscribed, check your update. Maybe unsubscribe, resubscribe, but make sure that you're getting those. Yeah,
I appreciate you for bringing that up because I don't miss a week. We're always giving you new content every Wednesday. I try to do it before the weekend so that you can have something to look forward to when you're done with work or whatever you're doing. You got something that you can feel confident that you can go watch. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Join us next week for another review and breakdown on Should You Watch This. We'll see you next week, and remember, when you watch movies, you can pop off, you can pop in, or pop out, but always bring the popcorn.